Do they have an Andy here in this school? What I said? Yeah. If there's any spirits in this school, can you come forward and try to speak to us?
I.S.218 had one of the most beautifulest memories of my life. I had a lot of fun when I was in I.S.218. It did not feel like I was in junior high school. I remember coming into 218 and being a little scared because I was part of so I came from PS5, which everybody didn't come from 218. 218 had more of the kids that lived on the other side of Dyckman. So for us, it was like a weird experience, like we're coming into a new school, we didn't know anybody, but they made us feel like home. The teachers, majority of the teachers were young, so I felt like, you know, they related with us, they were connected with us. But I will tell you, there was always something weird about the school. There was a vibe that you would definitely feel the minute you would come in. The lights were never bright. It was always a little dim when you walked into school, so it kind of felt a little funny. But everybody made you feel at home, and the teachers were incredible with us.
That building itself, I remember going to school there, and one of my friends told me that it was haunted, and I didn't believe them at first.
I don't believe in ghosts, but I've never in my whole life have been able to explain what happened in 218.
Going to school one day, I ended up getting casted for the Annie, the play of Annie. And we were walking to rehearsal coming down the staircase. And I remember hearing footsteps running behind me. It had to be like 5:30 in the afternoon, almost 6 o'clock. It was already after school hours. I happened to hear footsteps as if they were running down the stairs, like, como si alguien te estaba corriendo atrás. I hear them running after me. So I literally run out the staircase, and why? As I'm running out the staircase, picture this. You're in I.S.218, and if you're in the basement, there's this big circle rotunda right before you get to the auditorium. In this middle of this rotunda, I'm seeing literally someone hanging from the ceiling. Kid you not, I see someone hanging from the ceiling. And I'm standing there for like 5 seconds like, wait a minute, is this for real?
So I know the hospital, it was a Jewish hospital because this neighborhood is also a Jewish neighborhood, Washington Heights and Inwood. So I know that it was also like a local hospital where people could just take their kids. I was raised on Sickles, but when I got sick as a child that time, it was actually when I lived on Sherman and Dyckman. So it was the closest hospital. So I know that a lot of people in the neighborhood would use that hospital. I know that they shuttered the hospital and then they tore it down. I think I was in like 3rd or 4th grade when they started building the school. And every time that we would walk by, my mom would just comment that there used to be, quitaron el hospital, eso era un hospital, because Dyckman is always changing. I believe I had like pneumonia, and it was just like a regular hospital. They had me in, I'm not sure if it's a NICU, but they did have a children's section. It wasn't for adults only. So, wait, was there a story of a kid dying in the hospital and haunting the basement? Why do I feel like that's a thing? Why do I feel like I just made up a thing? Maybe I made up a thing, but I don't think so.
Like the Andy story?
Is that what that is? Did you say Andy?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why do I feel like I know this story? What is that story? There's a kid that died in the hospital. He still haunts the basement. Why do I feel like he's small, like 10 years old or something?
Andy, muchachito que me asustó a mí. So, the minute you came into the school, everybody talked about Andy. Andy. Who was Andy? We were told that it was a Jewish hospital before the school was built. They demolished the hospital, but that there were still spirits around the school. Many of us didn't believe in spirits because our families are, into church, Catholic, and they don't want us to believe these things. But being in the building made you feel like there was really something to believe.
From what I heard, Andy was a kid that he was in the morgue I don't know that he passed away. I don't know the exact story about Andy. I just know that growing up, he was a myth.
He's like 10 and he has that little brown haircut. It's a little white boy. Well, I haven't talked about this in so many decades. God, I'm old.
I've heard about Andy when I was in 218 as a kid. I never believed it. I mean, if you look at 218, the basement, it looks like they used to say that that's where the bodies used to be. Well, that's where the morgue was for the hospital.
The Andy story, it's interesting because we don't know who Andy is and where did that name come from, you know? So it's interesting that this story still exists from like 20 years ago and that people are still talking about it.
You know that I've had students that have been with me now who have transitioned to junior high school and still tell me the story of Andy and have told me that they've heard that it was a hospital and that Andy's in the school and that they hear doors opening and closing, that everybody's scared to go to the basement because they feel like in the basement is that you see and hear things.
The basement always felt different. I can tell you that. It always felt different. It was just weird going down there. Like for any class or sitting there.
Now, the story of Andy, was his name really Andy? I don't know, because you know that game Telephone? The story, you know, you say one story and then you pass it on and the story keeps on changing.
There was a couple that had a car accident. If I'm not mistaken, it was a car accident and the child was with them in the car, but nothing happened to the kid, you know. But the parents, they died a day after and the kid disappeared. Like there's no record stating the kid was picked up or was somewhere else. They said that the kid's spirit still stays there like in a loop, meaning it's usually the crying and the little steps you hear of him trying to find his parents.
On them times, like playing around as a kid, growing up, and it wasn't still up. There would still be like little footsteps I'm like, I never thought nothing of it. Because it was like, it could be just us randomly stepping on it and running around, but it was just like randomly.
They had just started putting after-school programs back into the New York City public school system. So we got a little bit of that, thank goodness, in that school. We was able to get the music part of that art. So we were down there, it was like, I don't know, 5 o'clock, it was late. Everybody was gone, like the regular staff was gone. Only there was us and the teacher that was coming to help us to practice. So we went down to the basement. There are these 2 heavy red doors at the bottom of the stairs. At the ends of the hallway, there are 2 very heavy doors. Well, we were at the one closest to, like, when you're going to the offices or what used to be something called a Sumo store, which was a store you used to buy stuff at the store. So we're sitting there waiting for the teacher, and the 2 fire doors, excuse my language, my French, the 2 fire doors opened by themselves. Now this is before those automatic doors that had a sensor, and we're in the hood, nobody's gonna spend that money on our school. So they didn't have any of that. These 2 heavy doors, you had to push the thing to open them. And it's not enough that the door opened, you know? It's that both of them opened at the same time and all the way open. And when I tell you that we were all on our own in that basement, just me and Candy, and that we saw no one behind that door when those doors opened, we ran so fast, the opposite direction, like when you're coming out for the cafeteria. We ran out that side, all the way on that side, because there was no way in hell we were gonna run through those doors that just opened by themselves.
After I graduated from I.S.218, I went to LaGuardia High School, but at the same time, I was part of this group called Clave Azul. So, as we're walking down to the basement to put away our instruments, we hear an instrument playing coming from the music room. And we were like, what the hell is that? There's nobody down there, it's just us. It's probably like 10 o'clock at night. The security guard let us in to put our instruments away. And we hear, I think it was like congas playing. We hear these congas playing and we're like, nobody should be in this room. And mind you, there was only like 2 sets of congas down there and they didn't work. So we go downstairs, we open up the music room, the closet is closed, and there's conga sounds coming out of the closet room. We open up the closet room, and there's nobody in there. I mean, if that ain't Andy, I don't know who's it gonna be, porque no son las ratas. It wasn't any specific beat. It sounded like somebody that was trying to learn or just like banging on the congas. It didn't sound like there was no rhythmic pattern to it at all whatsoever. It was just random, just playing, and that's it.
They rebuilt that school from scratch, but they didn't rebuild the basement. And as a person of science, which I am a person of science, I do believe in some type of energy that stays behind, maybe something that we have yet to explain through science. I'm not saying there are ghosts, but maybe we do leave behind a trace of our existence, especially a place that had so much life and death go through it, and now it became a school where it was just life, loud, all the time. Maybe it stirred something up, some energy. Maybe there's something old. This neighborhood is on real stolen land, so this neighborhood is old. We don't know what was here before that hospital.
I'm gonna show you guys what was there before the hospital. Broadway, 196th Street. There's two houses right there.
I mean, I've heard stuff before. I had classes in the basement, but I personally never experienced any like paranormal activities.
If you think about it, it's weird. Like 3 separate like classrooms, lights went on and off, like on and off, and then that's it. I haven't seen any more lights, and then there was some flickering too. You think that's like Morse code, like they're trying to communicate with us?
I mean, at first I was skeptical because I was like, oh, there's probably, lights were flickering. I'm like, there has to be a custodian. And it was like 6 a.m. until we actually saw the guy opening the gates. And I was like, wait, there's no one in there? I'm like, the lights were like literally 3 rooms, like on and off by themselves. And the guy was like, there's no one in there. I was like, okay, wait, this is strange. So that was interesting.
Lights went on, and went off, and the next room lights went on, went off, and the next room the lights went on and then off. And that was it. I was like, it has to be a custodian, someone in there.
But even himself, he's like, don't get me scared now and stuff, because like I work here, so I usually put my headphones on so I could avoid any like funny sounds. So I think he's fully aware of it. I think he just wants to block it out because he works there. So I don't think he wants to deal with that type of like, energy.
So we actually just witnessed with our own eyes, like lights going on and off, like in rows. I'm laughing because I'm like nervous. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
We can't pretend that those lights that we saw on and off, we didn't see it. I saw it with my own eyes. But I think certain people choose not to see things. They might see or feel something and they just say, no, that's not real. Some people don't believe in that stuff.
This is reality. It was real and it happened. And if it was just me, I would have been like, oh, that was just like, I would try to like scientifically prove something, but like we both saw it and we both were like scared at the same time, and like we just had goosebumps. So it was just like, I don't know, we just didn't know how to explain it.
It scared the living daylights out of me that to this day, I'll be 40 in January, I am still talking about something that happened to me when I was 12 years old.
You always have to have somebody next to you, because if I would have been like, oh, this happened, like I saw something, and then like if nobody's there to witness it, everybody thinks you're crazy. And I'm glad I had her, and we both were like, yo, you saw that? So I know I wasn't crazy, and like I know like sharing this, people are gonna be like, she's making it up. I'm like, no, this was not made up.
Everybody that I know that has certain experience, they don't feel the same way about it. They really don't like going to the basement. They get these weird feelings, so they rather just avoid it overall. But yeah, Andy's story's still there. He's supposed, I don't know if he still roams. According to what I've seen and heard, it's supposed some kids say they still hear little noises here and there. So I'm assuming he's still making his little rounds trying to find his parents, which really sucks. But that's the story about Andy that I know and I was told.
The reality is we heard things and there was no faculty or students down there. That's the reality, right? As far as it being ghosts, we would never know. We would never know. So the real reality is that we did hear this movement back there, but there was always nobody down there.
I don't know if I was imagining it, but every time I would see the same face on the side of those double doors. And those doors would open and close, open and close, open and close, constantly open and close, open and close. It looked like a short little boy, like it was a little round face with a short haircut, light skin. I can't tell you what I saw, but at that moment I believed it was Andy. I said, this is Andy. We just saw Andy. We both started running. After that, we were like, we will never go to the bathroom again.
I can't shake that out of my head. Like, I can still remember that morning. Like, I can still remember, like, it was like a foggy day. Like, I can remember it, like, to the T.
If it was gossip, I think the stories would have changed dramatically on everybody else who says it. And it's like everybody almost have a similar story to what they hear or what the origin of Andy is.
Some people are either awakening, or already awoken. So it's literally on the path of what that person's going, or if they're going there. So really tapping into who they are as a being. Yeah.
I wonder if the kids still experience that now, if they're still having, because that's such a, how can you not? And then the thing is, I don't think it happens too much when it's like daytime. It has to be when it's quiet, because things like that, you're not able to hear them when it's so loud everywhere. It needs to be quiet so that you can hear, I guess, whatever energy is left over, if that's what that is.
It's a very nice school. I like everybody there, except the ghost. Cause like when I'm in the basement for my music class, he just like be there. Like you don't see him, you don't feel, he's just there, and you know he's there. I liked I.S.218. I don't think I want to go to another school, especially since I'm in City College. It's like one of the best schools for middle school around here. I feel like I'm in a very good school and in a good environment. But sometimes people try to mess up the environment, trying to bring up there's a ghost who tries to do bad, when he doesn't do nothing bad. He tries to get people's attention. Probably he thinks he wants to play with the people, or some people can notice him and have a good intention with him instead of a bad intention like most other people think, and that is not a correct way.
You never want to believe this stuff, right? But it's reality when you feel it. And to me, I felt it. Like I felt it at the moment, and I was like, God forgive me. I even said, my mother forgive me, because my mother would never believe me if I tell her something like this. Mommy, I'm sorry. Pero se cree porque fue algo que yo vi de verdad y lo sentí. Yo y la amiga mía lo vimos, like, lo sentimos clarito, lo que tuvimos ahí.
Teenage gossip and reality sometimes can be the same thing, unfortunately. And there's nothing more teenage than sharing a scary story, because it brings you guys together too, because then you have like this common folklore, especially in this neighborhood where we're all a lot of us are first generation Americans. So for us to have our own little like folklore in our neighborhood, that's different from our parents who have like Siguapa folklore. All these tales, all these folklores for Halloween, for anything, the ones our parents tell us, they all have a nugget. They all have some type of truth in it. That place was a hospital. There were muertos there. It was a hospital, people died. And there's a nugget of truth there. And it's not just that, it's the accumulation of people's experiences. I'm not the first one to have that experience.
I remember us always being like in the auditorium and be chilling in the stairs and hear craziness from behind the curtain, and then go check behind the curtain, and there's like this little other room that you could like open the door. There was like mad chairs, and we just attached that to like the chairs moving and shit. But bullshit, it happened all the time. Yeah, oh God. And then even like the most vivid shit I can say, like to this day, me granija, is like, I remember one time I went downstairs to the basement. I forgot for what it was, or something like that. And it was like mad dark, there was really nobody there. And literally the lights just started like, la, 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 la. Right back up to the 5th floor, my nigga. Never thought about it a second again, never ever. But I cannot lie, since I went to 218, that was like the thing. Like, yo, you know, this shit is haunted, this shit is built on a hospital, da-di-da. So, craziness. Maybe it was us fucking with each other. Maybe there was a dummy in the background doing some craziness. But yo, I can't lie, I cannot lie, brother. I think it's a little of a little. What can I say? Like maybe like a game of telephone for lack of a better term. Maybe somebody did it. No, that's cool. That's fine.
I was like,
no, I thought I didn't scare. I thought it was like we were about to get it popping or something. I was ready. Pero yeah. I'm more scared of the shit that I don't see, you know, like that COVID shit and all that craziness. I was more scared of that, you know, I lost mad family and that shit. I think that was, if anything, that should be the monster of this film, the COVID.
You know, ghosts is really energy. You know, do I believe they're gonna harm me? My grandmother always told me one thing, que le tenga miedo a los que están vivos, no a los muertos.
This looks like a good spot for a ghost to hide. Am I right?
If you do attend the school now, talk and catch it if you can. If you're brave enough.
If you see something, just know that I had the same experience and other people had the same experience. So you're not crazy. Something is there and something is haunting the school.
So if you see Andy, what you gonna tell him?
Go away.
And who are you gonna call?
The Ghostbusters.
Enjoy the story about Andy, plus it brings the whole community back to a story that originated from 218, so that's also fire.
Anybody going to that school right now, if you feel something, if you see something that's out of the ordinary, record it, write it down. Don't run, don't get scared. It's just you just don't understand what that is, just the same way as they don't understand you, but just chill out. You'll be all right.
218 was incredible. Honestly, to me, that was my best years ever, where I forged my friends, my greatest loves, my greatest fights, all that craziness. It's 218, yo.
In a country where we don't have a lot, that's ours, and we gotta build it from scratch, this community was able to build such a community where we have our own folklore around our own people, and that's amazing. And I'm just glad they haven't destroyed the school, like, you know, torn it down. I hope they always keep it up there that says Salome Ureña de Enriquez Middle Academies, because that's the first time I ever saw a Dominican woman's name up like that. So to see a Dominican woman, a Latina woman's name up there, and she was a smart lady too, man, that felt good. So keep telling those stories. Maybe one of you are a writer. You know, that's the things to say. So those stories, they help the imagination. They help you think outside the box. I still can't explain what happened to me. And that makes me think. When I create something, I'm like, yo, but I can't explain that. And that makes me think about other things and expands my mind. So tell the ghost stories around the campfire, even if you gotta make them up yourself. Don't stop.
Listen, I think it's good. I think it's good for the you know, every town should have their own thing. So I guess that we could say we have like an urban myth, urban legend of, we don't know, Andy, whatever it is, but I think that it will continue to, you know, the story will continue for many, many years to come. And people will always kind of question in the curiosity. And I think this is the reason why we're here today. And I hope that you know, later on, there could be more students who jump, you know, are curious enough to do the same thing and kind of dig deeper.
There's a lot of great memories that I left behind in that school. Best believe, graduating there and stuff, throwing your cap and gown and stuff, it was the best feeling ever.
Just because you heard there's a ghost, you should not change your mind about I.S.218 because it is actually amazing, good school. Both of the schools in the school is amazing. And this is a big opportunity that you're gonna be missing on if you don't want your kids to go to I.S.218.